What's going on, everybody? Charles Schwab, how's your day going? Mina mom, 40 bang, 40 money mine. How's everyone's day going? Hope your day's going great. If not, some way, somehow, hope this video makes your day even greater, especially to all my Spider-Man fans out there. Today we're going to be reacting to 101 facts you should know. How it was filmed. So, we're going to be learning 101 facts about the first Spider-Man featuring Tobey Maguire, Kristen Dunst, William Dafoe. Don't know how William Dafoe, James Franco, all them boys. J.K. Simmons, a legend. So we're gonna react to that. But we can start this video. 4 things you can do for me would help the channel out enormously. One of my goals is to hit 100 subs on YouTube. 4 things you can do to help that. Liking the video will help this video get out to more people, get more exposure, more audiences. And obviously subscribing would help a lot. You can stay tuned more. It will show up to your feed and homepage every time I upload. Also, sharing this video to whomever, how many people you would like. Commenting down anything you want me to react to next. What you think of this video? Did you know or did you not know about one of these 101 facts? That's enough talking, that's enough promoting. Let's get into this video. I'm excited about this one, man. I want to see how it was filmed. Alright. Also, comment down who's your favorite Spider-Man.
This is how it was.
What's your favorite Spider-Man film? What film or show got you into Spider-Man? Comment down.
Facts about the making of Spider-Man 1. Starting off with, among the many actors considered for the role of Spider-Man were Freddie Prinze Jr., Heath Ledger, and Jude Law. But in the end, the role went to Tobey Maguire.
I'm not gonna lie, I know a little bit. I know they also wanted Leonardo DiCaprio. They also wanted him. That's what I also know. Alright. Come on.
Tobey Maguire was director Sam Raimi's first choice for the role, as he found Tobey's performance as Peter Parker to be believable and real. Raimi said that when he saw Tobey act in the film The Cider House Rules, he knew he was the right man for Spider-Man. However, the studio was not convinced by Raimi's choice, as they were concerned that Tobey had not been a lead in a big budget film before. To convince the studio that Tobey was the right man for the role, 2 screen tests were performed by Tobey, one being an emotional scene and the other an action scene. At this point, however, Tobey felt discouraged as he had already done 2 tests before, but luckily because of Raimi's passion for having him in the film, Tobey agreed to do the screen tests. The studio was blown away by Tobey's performance, and soon after agreed
Tobey didn't want to be in the film?
2 tests before, but luckily because of Raimi's passion for having felt discovered being an emotional scene and the other an action scene. At this point, however, Tobey felt discouraged as he had already done 2 tests before, but luckily because of Raimi's passion for having him in the film, Tobey agreed to do the screen tests. The studio was blown away by Tobey's performance, and soon after agreed on him playing the role of Spider-Man.
Ooh! Never seen before footage. Bro, he was built.
Tobey trained 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, and for 5 months to achieve the physique we see in the film. His training involved a combination of gymnastics, weight training, and martial arts. As he was a vegetarian, he ate lots and lots of tofu to bulk up. Originally, Tobey was only meant to train for 3 months, but filming was pushed back by 2 months, and Tobey used the extra time to train some more, showing his dedication to the role. Tobey had never read a comic book prior to being cast as Spider-Man. To prepare for the role, he read the first 4 years of the Spider-Man comics. In fact, all the main cast read the comics as homework for their roles. Although the cast weren't familiar with the Spider-Man comics, director Sam Raimi was a huge fan of them as a kid. He was first introduced to Spider-Man through his older brother Ivan Raimi, who has a brief cameo with his family in the opening of the film. And for his 12th birthday, his parents paid a local artist to draw a painting of Spider-Man, which he hung up on his bed. Raimi liked the character of Spider-Man because he could relate to him, and believes the success of the Spider-Man comics was because Peter Parker had real problems. He also credits comic books for influencing his visual style as a filmmaker. Before Spider-Man, Raimi was no stranger to superhero films. He wrote and directed his own superhero creation, Darkman, in 1990, and was a producer for Time Cop, a film based on a comic of the same name. Raimi nearly made a film based on the Marvel character Thor in the early 90s, and was to write
never
the film
seen
with
any of these.
Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee.
I've never
However,
seen
the
any of
studios
these.
were not interested at the time, and Raimi was told comic books do not make good films. A film based on Thor was released 20 years later as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Raimi also wanted to direct
Crazy.
both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, but was not chosen by the studio. When Raimi went to interview for the job of directing...
Bro, Sam Raimi would have probably made a fire Batman movie. Because he would have had like more of that scary side of Batman. Because that's the type of direction, bro, that would have actually been a low-key fire.
Spider-Man, he explained to the studio executives his love of the character.
But at the time, I know that, it's Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man, let's
All the
Spider-Man.
aspects he enjoyed from the comics, and how he identified with Peter Parker in his youth. His experience as a director and his interest in the comics landed him the directing job. Despite being happy that he was hired for Spider-Man, Raimi had no idea how he would create a living, breathing Spider-Man that could swing through New York. Raimi credits the work by visual effects supervisor John Dykstra and his team for creating this. John Dykstra previously created the space battle effects for the original Star Wars. Sam Raimi did not
That's
want to
crazy.
create a stylized world, as seen in comic book movies before, such as the Batman films. Instead, he worked with production designer Neil Spizak to create a real-world New York that could be believable for audiences. Composer Danny Elfman was hired for the music of Spider-Man. Like Raimi, he was no stranger to superhero...
Bro, to me, a soundtrack in a movie, TV show, whatever I'm watching, is major, right? Danny Elfman,
films, as he composed the music for
He's one
both
of the
Batman
goats.
and Batman Returns, and previously worked with Raimi on Darkman and Army of Darkness. At one point, character Gwen Stacy was considered to be Peter Parker's love interest.
Really?
The filmmakers chose the character Mary Jane Watson instead, finding her to be more interesting. This was because of her tough home life and how she learns throughout that she should be with Peter, as he has always been there for her. Gwen Stacy briefly appears in Spider-Man 3 and is the main love interest in the reboot The Amazing Spider-Man, released in 2012.
when she gets
The
her
role
neck
of Mary
cracked.
Jane Watson had not been cast until a month before filming. Filmmakers wanted someone that had good chemistry with Tobey Maguire, but after screen tests with 25 different actresses, they had not found anyone suitable for the role. At the time, Kirsten Dunst was already in production of another film, The Cat's Meow.
She was
The
low-key
filming
hot.
of The Cat's Meow was in Berlin, and Tobey, despite being sick, travelled from America to Germany to join in her audition for Mary Jane. Sam Raimi says that when Tobey came in the room with Kirsten, there was an electricity between them, and from then they knew she was right for the role of Mary Jane. Kirsten Dunst initially thought she was playing Gwen Stacy, as she is a natural blonde, and all the pictures in the comics she saw were of Gwen. But soon she learned she was playing Mary Jane. To achieve the red hair, Kirsten wore a half wig and dyed the front of her hair red. In the costume test, Kirsten is seen wearing a hairstyle similar to the Mary Jane in the comics, however this was not used for the final film. James Franco originally auditioned for the role of Spider-Man. The
Really?
filmmakers liked his performance so much that they cast him as Harry Osborn, Peter's best friend and son.
Bro, what? I didn't know that. That's a fact I never knew. James Franco was gonna play as Spider-Man?
Of Norman Osborn. They felt it was believable that Franco could be Willem Dafoe's son.
I'm not gonna lie, as a kid growing up and watching this film, like, yo, the hair, the face structure, everything was exactly like that. Actually was like a father and son to me.
Before the release of this film, there had been numerous failed attempts to make a movie based on Spider-Man. The most notable is director James Cameron's version,
Oh, yeah.
who was known at the time for directing
He was gonna have
both
Leonardo
Terminator and
DiCaprio.
Aliens. His version was to be released in the early 90s, but due to rights issues with the character, it did not happen. However, some of the ideas from that version influenced this version of Spider-Man, such as the spider that bites Peter Parker being genetically altered rather than having radiation like the comics. When Raimi was hired for the film, the script at the time featured the villains Electro and Sandman. These villains were originally in the unmade James Cameron version of Spider-Man and were carried
What is
over
this?
to this
So
iteration.
you're telling me it was copy
As
and
the script
paste?
developed, the film's villains changed to be Dr. Octopus and the Green Goblin. But Dr. Octopus was scrapped because the filmmakers thought they wouldn't be able to do both villains justice in one film, leaving Green Goblin to be the sole antagonist.
That's
Dr.
valid.
Octopus later appears in the sequel, Spider-Man 2. Raimi chose
Yeah.
the Green Goblin to be the villain for the film because of
Spider-Man
his
2 is one of the
personal
best, not the
relationship
best.
to Peter Parker, as he is Peter's best friend's father. They also liked having Norman become a surrogate father to Peter Parker in the absence of Uncle Ben, and the dynamic of having Norman be interested in Peter more than his own son, Harry. Both Nicolas Cage and John Malkovich turned down the role of the Green Goblin. In the end,
Really?
the role went to Willem Dafoe, who wanted it the most after reading the script and talking to Sam Raimi. Dafoe was in Spain working on a film when he got a call from Raimi. Raimi went on to tell Dafoe about the history of Spider-Man and his love of the characters, which went on for 2 hours. Dafoe found Raimi's passion engaging and liked the idea of playing the double role, being the father figure Norman Osborn.
Bro. To me, Green Goblin. All right, cause look at it like you gotta look at it like this. There's really no other way around it, bro. It's because William Dafoe, bro. To me, he's... I mean, no one else... I mean, yeah, you had... Continue.
While also being the villainous Green Goblin. Soon after, a cameraman was flown out to Spain to record Dafoe's screen test, and he was cut.
William Dafoe's one of the greatest, bro, if not the greatest. He's my favorite supervillain movie. He's my favorite, supervillain of any movie. MCU, DC, Green Goblin. Just his portrayal, bro. It's actually scary, bro. In this and No Way Home.
Cast as Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. Spider-Man
Comment down
scene
your
was
favorite
filmed in the Natural History
villain.
Museum in Los Angeles at 2 in the morning. Filming had to happen at night as that was when the
Mine's are Green Goblin and Joker.
public could not be inside. Real spiders were used in this scene. The spider that bites Peter Parker was painted red and blue with non-lethal paint, although some parts were CGI, such as the spider crawling down.
Really?
The hand that the spider crawls on was not Tobey Maguire's. The webbing in this scene was created using fishing line, as was some
Wait,
parts
that
of the
spider was
webbing that is
real?
later seen coming out of Peter's wrists. The production designers incorporated the colour green in the
looks
Oscorp
funky.
building to foreshadow Norman's transformation into the Green Goblin. Green is also seen in the Osborn mansion, and towards the end of the film, Harry
What is that
wears
called,
dark
audience?
blue. When designing the Green Goblin costume, the filmmakers looked to the comic version of the character. They wanted to both honour the comic book look, but have the suit fit into a real world they were aiming to create. The costume was then made to relate to Norman's job, having it be a military battle suit. Yet one struggle they had was justifying the Green Goblin's mask. The filmmakers' way of justifying the mask was to give Norman his own collection of tribal and war masks. An alternative Green Goblin mask was created that is closer to the comic book version. This mask would change expression rather than just being a rubber mask. But Raimi believed the audiences would be confused by the mask.
Oh, look at how scary that looks. You're telling me that doesn't look scary, bro?
Being so expressive, and instead chose
Oh my god, it takes the tongue out?
a static battle mask. A total of 9 Green Goblin suits were
that's
created,
crazy.
with each suit containing 580 separate pieces. William
Ah.
Dafoe found the suit extremely tight and very heavy, and would have to take breaks, sitting down between takes due to the weight of the suit. It would take around 30 minutes and 3 people to assist Dafoe into the suit.
Dang.
Concept art of the Green Goblin glider show a very different design of what we
Ooh,
got in the film.
That looks so
As with
terrible.
many of Raimi's requests, he wanted the glider to be faithful to the comics but to be updated. Dafoe had to learn how to ride the glider, and to make it appear that he is controlling it and not being controlled by it. Riding the glider was dangerous.
Every movie's gonna have CGI, right? But it's stuff like this, bro. You have an act like that's that focus, that's that drive, right? That the William Dafoe did to really like enhance the character, bro. Like this is what I love. I love. Just continue, bro.
Dangerous, as his
Continue,
feet would
bro.
be
I'm not
strapped
gonna
in
go on a
and there was
rant.
no release mechanism. But luckily, no accidents happened. Rosemary Harris played
I just love
Aunt Mary.
practical
She
stunts
previously worked
over
with Sam Raimi on
CGI,
The Gift.
CGI.
Cliff Robertson
MCU.
plays Uncle Ben. He was no stranger to the world of superheroes, as he played the villain Shame in the 1960s Batman show. The skinny body we see on Peter was not Tobey Maguire's body. They had a skinny body double, and with CGI, put Tobey's head on top of it.
Bro, what? Oh, with
They
CGI?
had a skinny body double.
Okay, you're telling me his face right here is CGI. Hold on. You're telling me that's Toby's face. Bro, that CGI is better than some of the CGI now. This is 20 years ago, guys. 2 decades ago.
And with CGI, put Tobey's head on top of it. The filmmakers had to use white gas for the Green Goblin's transformation due to the green gas being so toxic. In post-production, the gas was color corrected to be green. Willem Dafoe did almost all of his own stunts.
Practical stunts, bro, like real stunts, bro. It ain't no. And on top of it, yeah, I get it, bro. It's a business and you want to take care. Bro, he's like doing his own stunts, bro. You gotta, I admire that, bro.
This was because he felt the movement of the Green Goblin was as important as the acting parts, and wanted to create a unique body language that was personal to him. The trade catch involved no CGI and was a complete practical effect. They had someone stand above the camera and drop the items for Toby to catch. Toby's hand was glued to the bottom of the tray so he could not drop it. Throughout the film there is a blend of practical effects and computer generated effects. In the lunch hall scene we see webbing that is practical made out of fishing line, and then other times CGI is used, such as the webbing shooting out of Peter's wrist. Raimi opted for as much practical effects as possible and only CGI when necessary. A planned scene that would have came after the lunch hall of Peter going into the school bathroom was cut out. This scene would have involved Peter's web shooting out again and him trying to figure out what has happened to him. This was not filmed as the filmmakers felt it was too repetitive to the lunch hall scene. The idea of spider sense was Peter being able to slow down everything so he could inspect all potential threats. That's why we focus on the fly and the spitball, as they are things Peter cannot control and could be threats.
I never thought about it like that.
This effect was one of the last things finished for the film. Like James Franco, Joe Manganiello also auditioned for the role of Spider-Man. Instead he was cast as high school bully Flash Thompson. This was also his first feature film. Another planned scene was cut out.
True.
This would have happened just as Peter sees a spiderweb after his fight with Flash. But instead of crawling up the wall, he would have went to a public library to research spiders and figure out that he has mutated. However, this was cut out due to scheduling conflicts, and instead we see Peter realise what has happened to him in the alley. The wall crawling effect was achieved by having Toby crawl on his stomach on a flat piece of wood.
As a Spider-Man fan, as I am, bro, I will literally go on walls acting like I can stick to something. Like, I would go on this wall. You guys can't see it, but I would just go on walls thinking I can stick. And there was times where, like, yo, I think I was sticking. The whole time I wasn't really sticking the entire time, bro. Like, this scene really made me think I could really do that.
With the background creating the illusion that it is the floor. Peter says,
Up and away, Web!
One of the first of 3 references to Superman in the film. The other 2 are Peter ripping open his chest to reveal his suit, as Superman does in his own film from 1978, and Aunt May telling Peter,
"You're not Superman, you know."
Superman is another of Raimi's favourite superheroes, and points to the first Superman film as being the most like he's Spider-Man in spirit.
Who are you?
A friend.
Who are you?
Dun, dun, dun.
You know who I am.
Dun, 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 dun.
Your friendly neighborhood
Red Spider-Man!
In the film, Peter's webbing is organic and part of his transformation.
But
This
it's
was a
web shooters.
change from the
It's web
comics,
shooters, yeah.
which featured Peter creating his own web shooters. Raimi felt it was too unrealistic to imagine a high school kid creating a webbing substance, and thought it would make more sense to extend Peter's transformation to include organic webs.
Because these movies were my introduction to Spider-Man, I didn't realize it until, like, now that I, like, know. Like, ever since The Amazing Spider-Man 2, no, ever since the first Amazing Spider-Man, I'm like, yo, he has web shooters. And I actually, like, starting to research it and started reading comic books. It's actually, like when Spider-Man was created, it was web shooters. So, I wonder, like, how... Comment down if you were already a Spider-Man fan, and when you first saw this first Spider-Man from Sam Raimi, how did you feel about it? Like, did it ruin the movie for you? Was it something that you didn't even notice? Like, was it something picky, or was it something, like, you could look at, but the movie overall was so great, you could, like, not even... Like, it didn't affect you? Like, comment down if you watched this when,
This
like,
was
it
an
came
idea
out.
taken from the unmade James Cameron version. Production designers painted the wall that Peter hits. This design was an ad for a drive-time radio show, with a spider hitting the windshield, spider being Peter. Peter's talk with Mary Jane in their backyards was filmed on Kirsten's 19th birthday. The production designers chose the wallpaper in Peter's bedroom to be a spiderweb design, foreshadowing his future as Spider-Man. Uncle Ben's car is a 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 80.
I'm not gonna lie. That car is clean.
which appears in nearly all of Sam Raimi's films. Most notably, it is Ash Williams' car in the Evil Dead series. Bonesaw McGraw is played by real wrestler Macho
Randy
Man
Savage.
Randy Savage. Actor Bruce Campbell makes an appearance as the ring announcer. He is close friend to Sam Raimi and stars in the Evil Dead series.
Groovy.
Many of the extras in the crowd were recruited from comic book stores in the Los Angeles area. As with the Green Goblin costume, the filmmakers wanted to have Spider-Man's costume be believable in a real world. They justified it through wrestling, as wrestling acts have outrageous outfits. Peter designs his own wrestling costume being the Spider-Man outfit. This idea was taken from the comics. The idea for Peter's prototype Spider-Man costume was to be made out of things he could easily get a hold of. There being sweatpants, trainers, motorcycle gloves, a balaclava, and a t-shirt that he could draw a stenciled spider on. Director Sam Raimi makes a cameo here, with this being his hand that pushes out Spider-Man. However, on the reverse shot, it is not him. Raimi was also one of the people throwing the popcorn in Spider-Man's face.
Dang,
in the script, Uncle Ben was written to be dead before Peter arrives, but Uncle Ben actor Cliff Robertson improvised Ben being alive, so he could make contact with Peter one last time. An early version of the wall calling was made by the visual effects team to prove that a fully computer generated character could work. When this was showed to executives, producer Laura Ziskin told them that it was Toby crawling and not CGI. The executives were all fooled by this and believed it was a real person. Toby's
How could you?
eyes were placed on top of the CGI version in parts, instead of making his face completely CGI. Here you can see in this comparison the real version and the CGI version.
I didn't even, bro. It's the type of stuff, bro. Like, MCU, please take notes, bro. Please.
Production designer Neil Spizak included a orange glow on the buildings to represent Spider-Man's rage. When it came to the swinging, the filmmakers wanted it to be a mechanism for audiences to swing through New York. They aimed to achieve this by having the camera follow Spider-Man as he swings. This camera work starts out shaky, as seen when he chases Uncle Ben's killer, but by the end of the film, the camera work is a lot better. This was intentionally done to show Peter getting better with his abilities, and was to add a sense of realism. As the film was in a realistic setting, an early idea was to modernize the Spider-Man costume. This would have included a helmet that could open up to show Peter's face, as shown by this concept art, but Raimi did not
Not no Iron Man, baby.
want to reinvent the Spider-Man costume, and instead asked the costume designers to remain faithful to the comic suit. The suit would take over 4 months to be made. Features of the suit include the raised webbing to create a three-dimensional look and to hide the creases of the suit, and a muscle pattern printed on the suit to make Spider-Man look muscly. Early in production, black lenses were tested on the suit,
I heard about
but
that.
in the end, we see the white lenses as seen in the comics. These were made from Oakley lenses. To get into the costume, the actors and the stuntmen would climb in through an opening in the back of the suit. The costume was all one piece, with zippers on each side and back. However, these zippers would often break, and Toby would end up being sewn into the suit. During production, 4 Spider-Man costumes were stolen from the set.
Really?
Fortunately, other costumes were available, so filming was not delayed. These suits wouldn't be found until a year later, when police found out it was a security guard who stole them. They also found a Batman costume he stole when working for Warner Bros. The 2 construction men
Bro
that
works
appear in
security
the
guards to
montage
steal
were
stuff.
real construction workers. Actor Lucy Lawless appears in the montage as well.
Guy with 8 hands. Sounds hot.
She starred in TV show Xena Warrior Princess, which Raimi was an executive producer on. The montage was also going to feature footage of the Twin Towers, as seen from the first teaser trailer of the film. However, this was cut out due to the events of 9/11. Although the Twin Towers were digitally removed in some shots, in parts they are still seen. For example, here in Spider-Man's lenses. The Daily Bugle building is based on the Flatiron building in New York. J.K. Simmons plays Daily Bugle editor J. Jonah Jameson. He previously worked with Sam Raimi in For the Love of the Game and The Gift, and appeared on screen with Tobey Maguire in The Cider House Rules. Throughout all the previous failed attempts to make Spider-Man, co-creator of the character, Stan Lee, wanted to play the role of J. Jonah Jameson, but by this point, he and Raimi both agreed that he was too old for the role. Simmons wore a perfectly flat-top wig and prosthetic teeth to have the exact look of Jameson from the comics. Simmons spent a few days in the offices of the New York Post to get a sense of the atmosphere his character would be used to
It's crazy to me how he's still only J. Jonah Jameson.
on a daily basis. Simmons
But he
also
nails it, bro.
requested
He
a
nails it.
telescope in his office after seeing the editor of the New York Post having one. Actor Ted Raimi plays Hoffman, head of advertisement for the Daily Bugle. He is the younger brother to director Sam Raimi. Actress Elizabeth Banks plays Jameson's assistant Betty Brandt. She said she auditioned
Elizabeth Banks. Smoking hot.
for the role of Mary Jane, but was told that she was too old for the part. At the
Dang.
time, she was 28. The role went to Kirsten, who was 18. Co-creator of Spider-Man,
That's respectable.
Stan Lee, makes a brief cameo during the World Unity Festival. Initially, Raimi was against the idea of having Lee in the film, as he knew he could not act. But producer Avi Arad insisted on it, as Lee had already made an appearance in the X-Men, and he wanted it to be a tradition. It ended up being one of Raimi's favourite parts. Lee's cameo was intended to be longer, with different versions.
Yeah.
The first being Lee lifting up the girl next to him and carrying her to safety. But after several failed attempts, Raimi told Lee to stop. Another idea was Lee selling glasses and saying,
Oh, hey, how about these? They wore 'em in the X-Men.
but this was cut out. The Oscorp board members were supposed to survive and not be turned into skeletons.
Really?
This would have led to a scene where the Goblin tracks them down and blows them up. Just before the Goblin kills Fargus, the man in the wheelchair, Spider-Man arrives to save the day. This was not filmed, but extensively storyboarded. The collection of masks Norman has were real tribal masks, collected from all around the world. Norman was also going to have a collection of ancient battle armor. However, the filmmakers thought this would be too similar to the first Batman, where Bruce Wayne has his own room of armor, and instead settled with only the masks. Mary Jane calls Peter Tiger. This was a homage to the character's first appearance in the comics. The idea was suggested by Avi Arad as a reference for the fans, and was Kirsten's idea to say it at the end.
I better run, Tiger.
In the rain fight, the actor that spins away is Tobey Maguire, who sneaks through a secret door built into the wall, while the stuntman comes down on a harness. However, for the rest of the scene, Tobey was the one hanging upside down. While the rain
Was the
sequence
kiss
was the
real?
most romantic, it was the most uncomfortable for the actors, especially for
Oh, the
Tobey,
blood
who
flow.
could not breathe as the mask covered his nose and was soaked in water. Between takes, Kirsten would stand in front of a heater to try and stay warm. For the fight in the burning building, the
This
actors
scene is
were in the
hard,
set
bro.
when it was on fire. And to the filmmaker's surprise, the suits the actors wore were flammable. Luckily, no one got hurt, but many of the costumes were singed and ruined by the flames. For protection, all the crew had to wear a complete firefighter's uniform, including a
Wait, this scene... Bro, this is what I'm saying. Alright, I know it's very risky. You can die. All of that, right? But, bro, as fans, I feel like it's... Well, I mean, me personally, I admire this stuff so much, bro. They're willing to do this type of stuff. And I get it, nowadays we won't because the technology is so advanced, but bro, the CGI is so bad, bro. Like, this fire actually looks
respirator.
real. Oh my god, that look, he just scared me, bro.
The turkey in the Thanksgiving scene
That
had been
just scared
sitting
me.
around for 2 days. It gave off a rotten odour, and the actors had to pretend it was delicious. Rosemary Harris and Willem Dafoe previously worked together in a film called Tom and Viv. In that film, Harris played Dafoe's mother-in-law, who gives his character a hard time throughout. During the filming
Really?
of Goblin's attack on Aunt May, Harris jokingly called it the son-in-law's revenge. James Franco's first day on set was the hospital scene. The filmmakers already intended to have his hair match Willem Dafoe's brown hair, but for this scene he turned up on the set with black hair for some reason. For the other scenes
looks
in the
brown.
film, he has his hair dyed brown. Harry and Norman's last interaction together is filmed in the Greystone Mansion. This was the same place they filmed parts of the first Batman in.
Oh, that just scared them. That scared me.
Green Goblin jump scare was added in by the editors as a joke, but Raimi liked it so much that he requested it to be transformed into a fully realised scare. Despite Tobey being the superhero, Kirsten Dunst performed even more stunts than he did. This was because she
Really?
didn't have the luxury of wearing a mask, and instead had to show her face. While Toby performed many of his stunts, he was often substituted for stuntmen.
Hey, shout out. I know she gets a lot of hate and everything. She is very annoying throughout the films. But hey, as an actress, and she was 18, 19 at this time, I admire that. You did more stunts than the actual guy behind the mask. I respect that.
The bridge fight is a homage to the comics, when Spider-Man fought the Green Goblin on a bridge, which resulted in the death of his girlfriend Gwen Stacy. However, for this film, they used the Queensboro Bridge instead of the George Washington Bridge seen in the comics. And the bigger difference is the film uses Mary Jane instead of Gwen Stacy, and Mary Jane survives. The setting for the final fight was an old abandoned smallpox hospital on Roosevelt Island that still exists today. The interiors were built in a studio inspired by the building. The final fight was intended to be 3 to 4 times longer.
How does he survive this, bro?
Which would have included Goblin glider action and another appearance of the Razorbats that are seen during the burning building fight.
Oh, great.
But the fight was filmed towards the end of principal photography, and they realised there was not enough time to do everything planned. The spit that flies out of Peter's mouth was originally blood. However, for the film to gain a PG-13 rating, the blood had to be turned into
Bro. Does he not have a bald head patch right here? I'm still to this day, please answer this, please.
Spit by the visual effects team. While the arm coming out of the brick seems to be a homage to Raimi's Evil Dead.
Come on, bro. I'm actually so interested to find out if that's actually real or not.
To the old
Cause bro, that looks like a bald head, bro. Right or wrong?
Peter's mouth was originally blood. However, for the film to gain a PG-13 rating, the blood had to be turned.
Bro, is that not a bald head patch?
Turned into spit by the visual effects team. While the arm coming out of the brick seems to be a homage to Raimi's Evil Dead, Raimi himself has said it was a tribute to the old Universal horror movies. The Green Goblin's death is another homage to the comics, as he tried to sneak the glider up behind Spider-Man, yet impaled himself, just like he does in the film.
Oh.
Oh, it actually happened in the comics.
Don't tell Harry.
Was a reshoot later done after filming ended. You can see that Dafoe is wearing a wig for this scene. This was added in to show that Peter not telling Harry about his father being the Green Goblin, as Peter fulfilling the last wishes of Norman Osborn, who had been Peter's surrogate father throughout the film. The final swing was the last thing finished for the film, taking a total of 6 to 8 months to be completed. The camera that follows Spider-Man's swing would shake when going down as if it were shaken by wind, and would glide steady when moving upwards. This was to make it more realistic, as if a human was operating the camera that followed Spider-Man.
Bro, he's so
Don't forget to check out this
sexy,
video that compares
bro.
the Spider-Man behind the scenes footage
Bro,
to
that
the
swing scene is so hot, bro. Like, so hot, bro. But, bro, I learned some stuff. I didn't know James Franco was gonna play Spider-Man. I did not know that at all. I'm still, bro. I'm not tripping, bro. But when Spider-Man flies back, boom, with the uppercut, the back of his head looks like it has a bald patch. Right or wrong, bro? Right or wrong? Like, that's the only thing I still don't know about this film. Like, was that just another stuntman? Was it a bald patch? Was like a protective case, something? But this is gonna cap off this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you click on that like button, subscribe, comment, share. What you guys want to see from me next? Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and guys from all over the world, have a great day, great morning, great night. Catch you in the next one.